So my name is Barbara Brown, and I'm the chair of the College Area Community Council. For those who are regulars, I just want to say it's great to see you. For those of you who are new, the College Area Community Council is an organization designed to provide a forum for community issues, a conduit for communications with the city, and an opportunity for neighborhood problem solving and planning for the college area. This is an open forum meeting and your engagement is encouraged. All you have to do, if you have a question or a comment, feel free to raise your hand physically, or you can raise it virtually in the reactions button at the bottom of the screen. You can also contribute or ask questions in the chat. I'd like to take a moment to introduce those members who give so generously of their time and talents to make this happen. Bob Corley is our vice chair. Kathy Bremer is our secretary. Eric Rosenberg is our treasurer, and Bob Shokin, Russell Richardson, and Dena Rogers are members at large. So I guess we'll get started. I want to introduce Ventura Police Department's Mike Brown, who's going to give us our latest crime stats.
Hello, folks. My name is Mike Brown. I'm commander with the Ventura Police Department to oversee the investigations division and the SWAT team. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I look forward to our next in-person meeting. In regards to the crime stats, let me get my screen shared here. I'm happy to report that there's about 10 fewer incidents than the last time I spoke to you last month. The thefts predominantly dominate because of the mall section, and I think with the map, it's pretty representative of more thefts, and I think you're starting to see more and more thefts being reported. For a long time there, it seemed like businesses were just absorbing what they call the shrink. My wife was in retail for 25 years, and it just became a point where it was easier just to write off the loss than it was to report the crime. I think we're starting to see the pendulum swing back the other way, where I think people are pretty fed up with the theft and people just stealing, and they're starting to report it a lot more, which is good, and starting to get a lot more arrests and so forth out of that. So inherently with the mall property, you're going to see a lot more thefts because of that geographical region. There wasn't anything that really stood out to me as shocking. I noticed a few scams. There was 3 scams, online scams, especially if you have, elderly parents or, someone that's elderly. They're usually pretty susceptible to scams, and the scams have become pretty good and hard to recognize. So if you have any question, whether something's legit or not, you can Google and look up scams. The FBI has a page on scams, and I think there's just a scam.com to look up some of the common things. So a lot of them, and I actually just educated my family not too recently. We get text messages, people probing, and if you get those, just delete them. If you don't recognize the number, a lot of those phishing scams can happen just on your phones as well, and on your email. Norton antivirus is a common scam. With that, does anybody have any questions that I can help answer?
So no big change in crime stats with school starting.
Nothing noteworthy. In fact, there's actually 10 less incidents than there was last month. There was a little vandalism spree that we're actively investigating. I don't want to share too many details because it is an active investigation, but especially along the Mills corridor, Main Street, there was a lot of tagging recently, and we're investigating that.
I think Mike Johnson has a question. Mike?
Give me 1 second here. Okay, I have to get my microphone up. I just want to let everybody know my wife was a victim of a scam at CVS on Telegraph. What happened, the Victorian Telegraph, she went in and bought a couple Amazon gift cards, got home, opened them up, and found once she opened up the cardboard package that the cards themselves had already been used. You know, she unpeeled the thing, and the digits, some of the digits were scratched off. And so what apparently happens is somebody gets Amazon gift cards with no value on them. They steam them open or something. They get the numbers and they save those numbers. They scratch off some of the digits to make it hard for the mark. They put everything back, and then I'm guessing they go into CVS and they just put them on the shelf pegs. And so my wife comes along, she buys the gift card, it gets scanned. She pays, you know, 2 $100 gift cards. And then when she gets home and does all this stuff and figures it out, notices the digits are missing, she calls Amazon and they say, well, they were just redeemed. Because what somebody has done is they have taken those numbers and they've set up some little bot that is trying the numbers over and over again until they're activated and have money on them. And so, you know, if you walk into a store and they've got gift cards sitting out, I would say just don't buy them. You know, when she went into CVS, they said that it was happening a lot and that they have gift cards locked up, but it seemed to be happening with the cards that were out on the pegs. Now, of course, CVS, several people have walked in to say that this is a problem, and CVS hasn't really done anything about it. But as you can imagine, she filed a police report, and now her only recourse really is to go through the process to do a chargeback on our credit card. So I would just say, you know, if you go to Vaughn's, you know, they got all those gift cards sitting out. If you go to CVS, just don't do it. Just don't do it. Thanks.
I agree. I think that's really good information. Make sure to get something that's back behind the counter that people don't have access to. Thank you for that story. That's really interesting. I wasn't even aware of that one.
So another resource I'd offer to everyone related to scams, regardless of your age, is AARP. They have an incredible fraud and scam education program. If you listen to podcasts, they have a really good one. If you read, they have really good resources. I'm one of the young under 40 members of AARP, so I like them. But for educating yourselves and your family, they're an incredible resource on scams and fraud.
Okay, are there any more questions for Commander Brown? Doesn't look like it. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate your coming here and sharing this information with us every meeting.
Thank you, folks. I appreciate your time, and I'll see you next month. Thank you.
Okay, don't forget, not next month, but don't forget October is in person.
I look forward to it.
Okay, sounds good. Right, so next I'd like to introduce Vanessa Stotler, who is the Director of Marketing and Outreach for Ventura College. Vanessa?
Hi, good evening. Hello, everybody. Just going to pull up my presentation to share with everyone. Wonderful. I have it here.
Claudia, by the way, is joining us from her car. So welcome to, is it Dr. Hadid?
Yeah, I'm here. Just getting home. So I'm going to switch from phone to computer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So good evening, everybody. I have a few updates to share. I also want to thank you, Barbara, for submitting some kind of a little bit of a heads up of questions that were going to be coming my way. So I've added that to this evening's presentation. I first wanted to go off on some good positive enrollments that we're seeing this fall semester. We won't have finalized enrollments yet. Currently, this is the trends that you see from 2002 to 2003 and 2004. And at this point of where we are this week, week 3, we're almost 5% over where we were last year. So So that's always good. We won't have final numbers until after census. And we're also aware that there could be some fraudulent, kind of activity that could happen. That is something that's targeting community colleges alike across the state. So we are keeping an eye on our enrollments, but right now they are looking very positive, and we have teams on our admissions and records as well as financial aid that keeps a really close eye on our enrollments, especially anything that may look like it's a fraudulent account. Now, one of the things that Barbara submitted, and I'm very happy that you did, Barbara, because this is a really wonderful question. It was regarding some opportunities, some different types of, if you're an adult learner going back to college, or a career changer, for example, wanting to look at different types of career education programs, we do have our wonderful career education department that offers, we have agriculture, automotive career education, and diesel mechanics, business, child development, elementary, teacher education, computer science. We have criminal justice, as well as nursing and emergency medical services, architecture, drafting, construction, manufacturing and welding, as well as water science. So we have quite a few different career education opportunities for those career changers, maybe somebody who's looking to really focus in on that career change. And we are 2 years to a career. That's really what we say in career education. We're focused on anybody who wants to come back and maybe focus, on business. Even within that business area, there's social media, there's accounting. Somebody can go in and do office. There's an office assistant program as well. So there's a number of different career education programs for you. I just listed here some of the different types of groupings that are available. I also wanted to show people the top 10 career education professions that we offer with some of the highest pay here locally. Starting off with nursing and ending down with manufacturing. So we're really proud of the career education program that Ventura College offers. And throughout our district, we also have Oxnard College and Moorpark College, and each one of those colleges also has career education programs that do offer other programs that aren't offered at Ventura College. So, for example, there's a culinary program over at Oxnard College, as well as a dental program. And then Moorpark College has a couple of other degree programs that we don't offer. So it's always good to kind of look around for anybody who's in that career change, or it's kind of exploring it. Maybe they're looking to go back to college. But besides the career education, Ventura College does offer various other programs like classes in psychology, sociology. We offer the free ESL courses as well for the community members, especially those who are as English is their second language. So that's something that's offered at Ventura College too, for anybody looking for that. The other one that you were talking about was, and when I was thinking about folks that are doing career changing, or they're looking to go back and be in a very focused program, Ventura College has the PACE program as well. And PACE stands for the Program for Accelerated College Education. There's some really wonderful opportunities and benefits here. It's made to be a fully online program. So folks can really take it from anywhere. PACE was fully created with the thought of adult learners, parents, and people who have limited time. And so that was really what brought PACE together, was to provide that avenue for folks. It's also affordable. $46 per unit has not changed really at the college, but even at that, there are some opportunities for people to get financial aid to take PACE, get some books covered with zero to no cost program. So it is really a wonderful benefit as well that it's affordable in here in Ventura. It's flexible. So the offerings are pretty much staggered throughout the semester, but I think one of the best part is that enhanced support is that it's cohorted. So this program starts in cohorts. We have upcoming cohorts that are starting in the spring semester in business. And so our business and sociology programs cohorted are starting this spring. And so we are again, running some information sessions for PACE, and Barbara, as well as others here, what I'll do is I'll send you guys those upcoming info sessions to kind of write up on the notes. That way, if anybody's interested, they can certainly take the PACE program. So that's the other one that I really wanted to mention as somebody who is going through, thinking of a career change, wanting something fast paced, and especially if you're looking to do a program in business, psych, or soc. I mean, this PACE program was completely made for adults with busy schedules. The other question, and I really love this one, were our top 5 majors. And so, well, top majors pretty much for somebody who may be transferring out from Ventura College. We don't really have it specific in terms of a transferring out students. I'd have to dig a little bit deeper, but just I'll probably bring that at my the next presentation. But the top 5 majors for Ventura College that we have listed is our psychology, nursing, engineering, business, admin, and liberal studies. And that's really looking at just top 5 majors without kind of factoring in for those transferring out. So I'll make sure to get some more data related to that. But from those majors, this is what we awarded last year. We had 2,158 degrees. And this was for the 22-23 enrollment. And so we'll be kind of getting those numbers for the 23-24, which just ended. So hopefully we're getting that soon so that I can also get those updated numbers. But we're looking at 1,471, associate degrees with 687 associate for transfer. And we do also have certificates. So some of our programs, we do have degrees. We also have certificates. We awarded 1,597 certificates. And some of those were certificates of achievement, and then a transfer certificate that was awarded as well. I did want to bring up some really fun athletic, some news that we're really proud of. Our VC women's volleyball defeated Imperial Valley. So that was a really wonderful feat from VC Athletics, as well as the VC women's soccer team that started their season with a 2-1 win against College of the Canyon. So VC Athletics were very happy to see it. I did want to share, we have a few upcoming home games that you can see here. So we have a lot of them coming up here just at Ventura College. So we do invite the community members to come watch and definitely join in VC Athletics with all of the different game offerings that we do have. We have some wonderful upcoming events as well now that we're creeping into September. The art faculty exhibit, faculty exhibit, that's starting September 5th through October 3rd. And we do have an opening reception September 5th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then Monday, September 9th, we have that Laurel Project. It's wonderful. That's going to be at a performing arts center with Anastasia Malarias and soprano Tasso Comenescu, who's doing guitar. So it's going to be some performances on Monday, September 9th at 12 p.m. And also you'll be seeing our signs as well as some upcoming celebration for Ventura Colleges as we celebrate the Heritage Month from September 15th through October 18th for Hispanic Heritage Month. And we have also the HSI month, HSI week, that we'll be celebrating with different events at Ventura College. So that'll be fun. A lot of the events that will be open to the public will be posted on our marquee. I'll be sure to also send over to everyone here as well. And so, Claudia, is there any kind of updates that you wanted to add from some of the updates that we have here or wanted to share?
Thank you, Vanessa. No, it's just been a very exciting start of the semester, very busy with a lot of meetings. Talking about athletics, I was just watching the female volleyball team play against Pasadena. So they were playing really, really well tonight. But I left that game just to come to this meeting. So it was really fun. No, I think you mentioned a lot of events. If anything, the September 7th football game, I think that's the first one of the season.
Yes. Oh, yes, the September 7th football versus Saddleback College. It's also going to be the faculty classified staff appreciation night. So we're hoping for a really big turnout out in our football field. Should be a wonderful evening.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll open it up for any questions as well. Yeah, Barbara.
So one of your most popular events, at least in my world, is your November pottery show and sale exhibit.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Do you have that info yet?
No, we don't have that info, but I'll be sure to bring that for the next couple of meetings, because I know in October, you're giving me a really great mental note, Barbara, because I know November and December, the meetings for CACC take a break through the next year. So I'll make sure to get those details. But yeah, very exciting. It's a wonderful opportunity, not only to do some holiday shopping for loved ones, but to support our students who create items to sell. So thank you for that reminder, Barbara. I'll be sure to bring that. Yes.
Mike, do you have another question? Or is your
I,
hand still up?
I do. I wanted to plug that same sale. I'm sure my wife will have some pieces in it. Our son also is taking ceramics, but I don't think he'll have any pieces in it. He's pretty new to it. I wanted to welcome Dr. Lourido-Habib. Actually, we're just in a meeting together this afternoon. For everybody who doesn't know, and this is fantastic. The city and the college and the school district, we all have regular meetings where we all get together and we talk about all the things that overlap. And so today we were talking a lot about dual enrollment for, the high school students and taking college classes. In my role at VCTC and Gold Coast Transit, there's talk about, we discussing where things are with youth ride-free and college students ride-free programs. We talk about what's going on with various properties. We talked about the student housing that is going to be built on the campus. And I wanted to welcome you in this sphere as well.
Thank you.
I really hope that as you know, I'll be stepping off of council, but we really have a close-knit community on these things. And when you have all the big wigs in one room, it's amazing what can happen. And so welcome officially, unofficially to the College Area Community Council as well. And just on behalf of everybody who's been part of these meetings for a long, long time, we greatly appreciate all the support that we've had from the college over the years in the College Area Community Council. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much. And I will just add one last piece. I know for those who attended in person or online at last meeting a month ago, we provided a little update on the student housing project. So just nothing new to report except that we're working through the contract with the architect. And once that's finalized through the Board of Trustees, then we'll start having those community meetings for feedback on these projects. So for now, there's not much new, but we're excited to tackle that project as soon as we can. And you'll all be invited to participate.
Absolutely. We'll definitely want everybody's input during those meetings. Thank you.
Kathy?
I have a couple basic questions for Vanessa. You said that some classes offered are cohorts, so if you would explain that. And also, you mentioned their diplomas and certificates, so I'm curious about what the difference is between the two.
Of course. Wonderful question, Kathy. So cohorted is a model in which students begin a program together. As a cohort, usually we've had like our business cohort has been pretty large with PACE, in particular, the program for accelerated education. And so those students start together in the fall semester or the spring semester, and they take all of their courses together with the same group of students. It's a wonderful model. I personally had a cohorted model for my master's degree program, and it was a wonderful support system. So just personally speaking from experience, cohorted models are just really great to build that community within the program itself. Essentially a cohort will begin together, take every course and sequence together until they complete the program. Rather than taking classes kind of like traditionally, for example, where you could have a schedule of different classes, different peers in each course that you take.
So
Hopefully
it's
that,
almost like grammar school where you go through the
Yeah.
class, you have the same class for all of 5th grade, say.
exactly. That's a wonderful way to.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
And so
And
with
then
these,
certificates.
yeah, certificates, absolutely. So with certificates, we have students who can get certificates of achievement. They could do a certificate within a program here at Ventura College. And that's normally a shorter coursework compared to the full degree. So it could be certificates for business, for example. We do have that. We have an accounting certificate. We see students who return after receiving a degree complete certificates. It's one option for them, is they could, and rather than completing another degree, they can complete a certificate of achievement. And also some programs are offered as just a certificate so that students can complete it. Generally, they are shorter compared to the full length degree that somebody could be taking.
Well, so is that more in preparation for specific kind of work, say bookkeeping or accounting, and it proves that you are qualified to take a certain level job? Is that
Correct.
okay, great.
Yes,
Okay, I'm
that's
getting it.
yes. Uh-huh.
And just to
Thank
add
you.
to our menu,
Yeah.
I know you didn't ask, but we soon will have a baccalaureate
Yeah.
degree. We were approved for automotive. So now that we are approved by the state, where the faculty are working on the curriculum for the baccalaureate. So that is exciting as well.
BS?
Yeah.
Or BA? BS.
Correct. Yeah, and that'll be next fall for here at Ventura College.
Great,
Yeah.
cool.
Mhm.
And then Mike, did you have another question, or Mike Johnson?
Mikey, where are you?
He took his hand
Oh,
down.
okay, perfect.
Well,
great.
thank you so much,
Thank you.
Vanessa and Dr. Lourido-Habib. It's so nice to see you again. We were very excited about that building project and can't wait to hear more about it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, so next we're going to just take a few moments to do some CACC business and announcements. One of the big things, I do want to welcome Bill Ayub, who is our city manager, who's here tonight. Not to put you on the spot, but if you're listening, did you want to say a couple words? Don't forget to unmute. Are you unmuted?
Sorry, I missed the last piece. I heard put you on the spot.
Yeah, well, that's always good. No, I just wanted to welcome you tonight. It's always great to see our city manager. And I just wanted to know if you had any words you wanted to share or anything you wanted to share.
Yeah, I came in a little bit late, so I apologize for that. I just wanted to mention that the city has a new application that's available for your Apple iPhone or your Google phone, your Android or what have you. It's called Ventura Connects. And what it allows members of the public to do is to submit work orders basically for things like potholes, fallen tree branches, graffiti vandalism, perhaps building compliance issues, a variety of different things. It's all completely portable. It allows you to take a photo and submit those. It has geolocation, so if you're at the area where whatever it is that you feel the city needs to address is happening, it will record that location and automatically submit it. So a really cool tool for the public to use to easily report community related issues for the city to work on. And then also there's an accountability piece where you can go in and check the status and get some feedback, or if you choose, you can submit reports anonymously. And in any case, that will come to the right staff, and that item or issue will be addressed promptly. So kind of a neat upgrade in technology. We have some other things in the pipeline as well. So lots of cool stuff happening at the city.
I had a question. So I've noticed there's a lot of tree planting, which is super encouraging throughout the city. In 2023, 100 trees were planted, but 300 were taken out. Is there a, hopefully we're evening that out a little bit?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question, and we do see that. I've had questions as well about private property and whether there is a requirement locally for private property owners to replace trees. There's not, but on the city side, we've had requests from city council members to have a really high ratio of trees planted compared to those removed. It is challenging. The city has limited space within which to plant trees. Many of the tree wells that have trees removed for one reason or another, either hardscape being heaved, dangerous conditions, deteriorating trees that have become dangerous. There's a number of reasons why they might be removed. There's a period of time where we have to wait for a replanting of a tree. And so as you go around town, you'll see vacant tree wells, some that have been vacant for a very long time. I'm told it's about a year that needs to pass for the ground to get ready to accept a new tree. But that is something we strive to do. There's fairly resource intensive process in planting and nursing a sapling or even a small tree. We do find that vandals often come along and damage them as well. So expect with the general plan update there to be a directive of sorts, to your guideline, if you will, for a number of trees to be planted to replace those removed in the public space.
So just so everyone is on the same page, if you can avoid taking out an old tree, and many trees in Ventura County aren't old till they're 100 years old, but a lot of them are 60, 40 years old. Anyway, they do a huge amount of CO2 mitigation, and a sapling cannot do that work. So if you can avoid taking out a large tree, you're doing a lot for our air, and also to keep it cool here, because these large trees are doing a huge job of transpiration. The big eucalyptus, they don't need much water, but they're transpiring water all the time. That keeps our air a lot cooler. The oak is the same thing. So thanks, thanks, Bill.
Sure.
Okay, so I do have a couple of announcements. The CACC, in partnership with the Midtown Community Council and the League of Women Voters, is going to have a candidate forum on September 12th at 6:30 p.m. at Cabrillo Middle School Auditorium. 3 districts are running, District 2, District 3, and District 7. Most of you know that the CAC boundaries include both Districts 2 and 3. There's quite a number of people running for Mike Johnson's seat. Between those 2 districts, 2 and 3, there's 7 candidates. District 7 covers the Pierpont area, and there are 3 candidates running for District 7. So if you want to join us on September 12th at Cabrillo Middle School, at the Cabrillo Middle School Auditorium, you can actually hear what those candidates have to say and see if their values align with yours in preparation for the November elections. Eric, did you have anything to report on the financial front for CACC?
Nothing big at the moment. Just I just actually messaged Barbara behind the scenes. A thank you to recent donors. We had recent donations from Russell Richardson, who's a member of our board, and Dena Rogers and Sam Fang. Those came in through PayPal and Venmo. If you go to our website, you should be able to donate through either of those. And we always appreciate your support. This month, our big insurance bill is due, and thankfully to everyone's donations, we have funds to cover that. But we're always getting ready for next year too. So thank you all for your support.
Dena, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
I was just going to add that I think everyone's pretty much aware that CACC is a nonprofit. And although we don't have staff or premises to care for and to spend money on, like most organizations, we do have some foundational financial obligations. And Eric just mentioned those, the insurance, but we also have things like our Zoom fees and our website maintenance and a few other things. If you find our work valuable, I would encourage each of you to please make a donation to CACC. It can be small. We'll take that too. And what it does is it allows us to, like I said, take care of our foundational financial obligations. But also, if we get a little extra money in the kitty, we can start imagining what sort of great things that we can do for our organization and our community. So I would encourage each of you to send a few extra bucks our way and pitch in for the cause.
Well, that is a perfect, thank you, Dena. That's a perfect segue for Russell Richardson. Russell?
Thank you, Barbara. Many of you may remember that when we had our first hybrid meeting in March, we also sponsored a food drive for the food pantry at Ventura College. They do a lot of different things, but in particular, they support students who are on campus but don't quite have enough food. So they provide them with canned goods and an array of other things to get them by. We felt it was a good idea to try to support them, and we asked you to participate in that. And I partly wanted to thank you again because we had a fantastic response. It exceeded our expectations. And so we really, really appreciated it. And we thought, why not do it again? So when we have our hybrid meeting in October, we'll be sponsoring another food drive. We just wanted to give you a heads up. We'll remind you again when we meet in September, and I'll also provide you with a list again of the kinds of things that would be most appropriate to bring in October. Thanks again, and we'll give you more information at the next meeting. Barbara?
Thank you, Russell. I really appreciate it. So now we are going to go on to
Before we keep going, I just looked at my notes. I didn't mention Kathy as a recent donor. Thank you, Kathy, also a board member, for your amazing hard work in making our meetings come together and your recent donation.
Speaking of Kathy, I did also want to mention that if you are good at taking notes and would like to volunteer your time for CACC, or if you know of anyone that might be interested, we're looking for an additional volunteer to help take notes. Please reach out to us at cacc.vta@gmail.com. And I will put that in the chat so that you can, make a copy of it shortly. So I'm going to introduce Meredith, Hart, and Cary Glenn, who are with the Ventura Economic Development Department for the city of Ventura. I don't know which one of you wants to speak first, or if you both want to talk at the same time, that's fine too.
Yeah, we're gonna both talk throughout the presentation here. So I am gonna get this started in the beginning. All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us today. We're really excited to be here with you and to give you an update on economic development here at the city of Ventura and the recent strategy that was approved. I am Meredith Hart. I'm the Economic Development Manager with the city, and we are a team of two, and my team member is...
Hi, I'm Cary Glenn, Economic Development Associate. I work alongside Meredith in the City Manager's office.
All right, so a little bit of the economic development background. So our city's last economic development strategy prior to the one that was just approved in July was for a 5-year period of 2013 to 2018. After that, there was a base assessment, a little study, economic context study that was in 2018. And then the pandemic hit, and it wasn't really the right time to go out and create another strategy when we didn't know what the reality of our lives were going to be like. And so finally, when things started to regulate a little bit, we were able to push forward and work on this next economic development strategy, which will take us from 2025 to 2030, another 5-year document. So really, our economic development strategy is designed to align with the city priorities, identify those measurable outcomes, and then hold us accountable to achieve those goals. And this is all done while preserving Ventura's unique culture, community-driven vibe, and friendly feel. So this strategy, as many of you all know, the general plan is happening here in Ventura. So it aligns with the economic context within the general plan, and also use that economic base assessment as the basis for the strategy. So the economic development overall focus, the main goal, and this was created through our public, through our business community, and our partners here in the city. We had PFM Group Consulting, which really led the effort in concert with our economic development subcommittee and Cary and myself. And so we had surveys go out, we had engagement opportunities, as well as individual interviews with different partners. And really what the main point that our community wanted us to focus on was to help businesses located in Ventura to expand and thrive in ways that provide additional business opportunities and employment opportunities. And so while that is the main goal that Cary and I focus on, there are many other focus areas that help us achieve that. And so with that, and we'll kind of go into these in a little bit more detail, are driving export-based industry clusters. And so those are the ones that are really pushing our economy forward. Those emerging export-based industry clusters, those new businesses that are popping in are startups, tourism and hospitality, of course, lifestyle, retail, personal services, local business, so kind of the catch-all for everything else. City processes, how the government works through all this, and resource allocation. And so what we've done with this strategy that was approved, there is a lot in there to do. So Cary and I have worked hard on kind of picking out things that we think that we can get done in this first 6 months, things that we think we can get done in the next 12 months, and then those 2+ years. And so really what we are going to be sharing today is what we are going to be focusing on in this next 6 months.
Great, thanks, Meredith. So one of the focus areas that Meredith mentioned was, or is, our driving and emerging clusters. So a cluster really is, just for context, it's a local concentration of similar companies that are complementary industries that are either located close to each other, have that kind of synergy. So we're going to be, our main goal for this next 6 months is to really dive into those driving and emerging clusters, identify those business and industries within each of those. You can see those outlined on the PowerPoint here. So we'll be diving in, identifying those. And then what do we do once we identify those? So obviously, we want to connect with those business and industries. There are some existing industry groups that are currently meeting. So for those that we connect with that aren't engaged, we want to get them engaged. And then we also want to find out what are their successes and what are their needs. What is driving them, and how can we help propel them forward? So obviously all of that is consistent with, communication and establishing those communication networks. Also, what's going to be really important is capturing, like I said, their needs and finding out what their employment needs are, and do we have the services and the business and the industry and the education and workforce to support those businesses and industries. So we'll also be partnering with workforce development to align their efforts with those in the community and our business community that and connecting those two industries. And of course, we have really great relationships with a lot of our community partners, many of them actually some very familiar faces on the screen tonight. So again, it'll be engaging those partners that we have existing relationships with and connecting in those with our driving clusters once we make those analysis moving forward. So next slide, please. So tourism and hospitality is another focus area. So the main focus is obviously we have a lot of day trippers. So those are folks that come to Ventura, maybe they shop or they dine, but they don't stay overnight. And really that's where we want to continue to drive that forward is get those folks here, and we want heads in beds. Obviously, that helps our transient occupancy tax, which is a tax collected on hotel stays. So obviously, we want to boost that. That helps our bottom line and our general fund. So how do we do that? So we continue to establish and maintain a really vibrant relationship with our Visitors Bureau. That's Visit Ventura in downtown. And another way that we stay connected to our partners is through quarterly event meetings. So the city, Visit Ventura, the fairgrounds, the Downtown Ventura partners, our State Beat partners, the chamber, we all get together quarterly and talk about, okay, what's upcoming, who's coming into town, what events are happening, how do we maximize the audience that's showing up in our community? How do we move them about town? How do we get them to stay longer than a day? And how do we get them to spend money throughout the community? So that's a big focus for our group that we meet. And then again, continuing to strengthen that relationship that we have with the Ventura County Fairgrounds. So obviously they're a big facility, one of our largest facilities that can accommodate big events such as the X Games, the annual fair that we all love, and the Strawberry Festival. So those are big events that rely on all of our partners to either help bring them here, sustain them while they're here, and help support them and really create an opportunity for our residents to participate in all these great events, but also to leave a lot of tax dollars at the table when they come through town.
Thanks, Cary.
Yeah.
Our next focus area is on the lifestyle, retail, personal services, all other businesses within the city of Ventura. And really the main focus here is to reinforce our position as a regional center of retail and personal service businesses. And so regional means that throughout the county and throughout our neighboring counties, that Ventura is the place where people are going. And they're going here because of our unique retail. They're going here because there is that service that they just can't get in their town. And then, of course, continue to serve our local community as well and keep them here in Ventura and not have what we call leakage, which is where people travel to the outside cities to get what they need. And so what we can really do in the next 6 months to kind of move forward with this is to really track business referrals and connect with all of our partners to grow capacity. And so what we want to do, and we are hoping that we are not just going to do here with the College Area Community Council, but with everybody in Ventura, is that if you know somebody who's opening a business, who wants to open a business, who has a dream of just doing that one thing, think of us. We are that friendly face at the city, and we want those referrals. We want to engage with anybody who wants to open a business or be a part of our community at the beginning, so that way we can help them through the process and make it as painless as possible and help them get to that success point as possible, as fast as possible. Another thing that we really want to do, and you heard me mention kind of the leakage of finding out where people are going, that's all part of figuring out these shopping patterns and the shopping trends of our community here in Ventura. Where are people going? where are they coming from, and then where do they go afterwards. And if we start to notice a trend that says, like, one of the things we've noticed is people leave Ventura to go to Raising Cane's in Oxnard. It's huge. It's in the top 10 of places where people in Ventura leave to go. And so that is something that we would have never guessed, right? But we get to figure out now because we have a subscription to something called Placer AI. And at first you kind of got to get used to it because these phones that we all have, and when we accept apps and download apps, right, they're telling stories about us. They are telling our patterns of where we're going. They're telling what kind of people we are, where we're working, what we spend our money on. And so that is something that through Placer AI, we can now build those patterns and we can see what is happening in our community and people are coming from outside our community and start to build those stories and see maybe those amenities that we didn't realize we needed, that we need to try to help keep those sales tax dollars here in our city, which then go and get reinvested in our community. Another thing that we really love doing and that we're going to continue to do and grow is our connectivity campaigns. And so what you see here in the picture is Cary and I holding a small business shop local decal. And we provided these to local businesses throughout National Small Business Month. And we are going to continue to do different initiatives like this to really show how we are one community. We are over like 98% locally owned. Small businesses here in Ventura. It is a huge part of our soul and our identity, and we want to share that, and we want to champion it, and we want to showcase those small businesses. So we have a couple other that we'll talk in a little bit of things to look out for in these next 6 months, but we are really going to help kind of be building that quilt and the messaging of Ventura through these connectivity campaigns. And city processes. So we all know, right, that government sometimes isn't always easy to navigate if you don't know it. And so that's where Cary and I step in, right? So I mentioned we are the friendly faces at City Hall. We are here to help. We are here to help make the process as smooth as possible and to set those expectations and those markers and communicate frequently with our business community. So there shouldn't be any surprises. And so really what we heard through the creation of the strategy is that we need to continue to focus to alleviate time and expense required for catalyst economic development projects to attain desired city permits. Now, the word catalyst is in there, and that is something that is going to be defined through our economic development subcommittee. So there are going to be ways that we can potentially do something to help those catalyst projects, which could be ones who have a certain threshold of hiring local, but this is something that Cary and I do and will continue to do for every business who is in Ventura. And that's really to help with that communication. One of the things that we've heard time and time again is that when a business comes in and they sign a lease and they're excited, but they don't realize the zoning, or they don't realize they're going to need a use permit, or they don't know how the business license works, or that tenant improvements and there's certain thresholds and other things are triggered. So we're really trying to get into that conversation before those leases are signed. And that's working with our brokers and our property owners and community development to have collateral to pass out and to make sure that it is getting to the right people and they're referring them to Cary and I or to our community development team at the city. Another thing we're really doing is engaging in policy support and education. Cary right now was talking this morning about how she is tracking legislation on alcohol consumption in entertainment districts. And so that's really kind of the ability to have alcohol in the outdoor business expansion areas. And so we're going to continue to do that and continue to educate our business community and our public on those different things that are happening. So that way we're all aware. And if you want to get activated to be an advocate or however it is, you know what's happening. Significant participation in our DAC meetings. These are the meetings when there's those big projects that are coming in where there's fire, PD, public works, water, planners, everybody's at the table. And now we are at the table. We've always gone to those meetings, but now we get the opportunity to say, hey, this one's really important. Or, hey, this one is great because of this. Have you thought of this? Or, oh, here's a new project we didn't realize was happening, and now we can get engaged. So we're excited about that. we also potentially have the ability, people get comment notes, and sometimes the comment notes are hard for lay people to understand. So another thing Cary and I are going to try to do is to get in there and to maybe see if there's the ability to message in a little bit way that's easier to understand. What a story we want to share is, net zero was something that was passed and with great intentions, right? It's really to help continue to make sure that there's water resources available in the city of Ventura. And so what it was created to do is that if a business, a development, anyone comes in and they are putting more use on the system than the prior use that was there before. So a retailer turns into a restaurant, restaurants use more water, you pay up front that fee for that new use on the system. Great in theory, but in reality for our business community, it was really hard. It was a barrier, and it was one of those things that when Cary and I got calls, when people got those net zero fees, our hearts sunk. The most recent story we have is Mother's Tacos. This is a business that came from Napa. They have 3 restaurants, and they were traveling all through California trying to find that one place where they wanted to open a new business. And they fell in love with Ventura, right? Because who doesn't fall in love with Ventura? And so they were the most engaged group of business owners that Cary and I have ever worked with. They were making all the right phone calls, reaching out to all the partners, doing everything, and then they get their net zero fee, and it was $50,000. And that's a lot, right? That's a lot for people like you and me and these anybody who is starting a business. And through his advocacy and through a lot of work with the chamber and a lot of work with our council member who is on here, Mike Johnson, and Doug Halter, bringing policy consideration to council and really kind of showcasing how this is really difficult for our businesses. And we have a 7-0 vote, and there is a moratorium on net zero. So no new fees being paid for net zero. And now Mother's Tacos is going, and the Port District has one with Loose Cannon that is moving, and all of these projects are moving, and we're seeing so much more engagement. And so we're really thrilled that thing that was a barrier that made people second guess whether they wanted to be in Ventura is no longer here. So advocacy works. If you're feeling it, if you're frustrated, if you're happy, share it, because we want to hear, and government does work. So we're thrilled with that. All right, Cary.
Great, thanks. All right, so the last focus area is our resource allocation. And this is obviously an important piece because without resources, we'll struggle to implement all of the ideas, intentions in the strategy. So really this is trying to identify what resources do we need to help implement the strategy. So there's some recommendations in the strategy. We didn't list them all out here, but those will be forthcoming as we engage with our economic development subcommittee. So this subcommittee was developed many years ago with the intention to guide the creation and the implementation of the ED strategy. So our current ED subcommittee had many bites at the apple looking at our ED strategy and helped us vet all of the ideas and concepts within that, and then ultimately took the strategy to council for adoption, and which is what we'll be working on for the next 5 years. So part of that again is looking at dissecting the strategy, figuring out all of the components within that, and then identifying all of those resources needed to execute those. So we'll be going through those. Again, we'll be meeting with our subcommittee. We meet with them monthly. And our next meeting will be going over the details of the work plan with them to help us kind of pinpoint and focus those areas that we want to tackle first. City Council also has goal setting sessions. Economic development is always been a part of that goal setting. There's some items in there that we'll also be focusing on, and also to ensure that our strategy is aligned with the council goals. And then, so although it's more of a soft idea than an actual hard concept, but Meredith and I always think of economic development as everyone's role is economic development, whether you're in Parks and Recreation, whether you're in Public Works, in the city manager's office, in planning and building and safety. Everyone has a piece of the economic development pie, whether it's figuratively or literally. Everyone is an economic developer. And so our goal over this next year, as we roll out some of these components of our strategy, is to remind our internal partners of that. If a permit application lingers, a little too long, that could be a month's rent for a small business owner. So it's really important for us to ensure that our internal partners understand that every day, every minute counts when you're a small business trying to get opened. So that's really important for us to continue to communicate that. And then also on the outside of city is, again, working and leveraging our partners. We work with so many folks in the community that really are dedicated in serving our small business community. So, again, you all are familiar with them, but of course our chamber, Weave, EDC, we lean in heavily to our partners to provide programming, to provide resources and expertise and mentorship. So without all of those other partners in our community, we really can't do what we do without them. So we'll definitely continue to leverage those relationships to the betterment of our small business community.
And another one of those relationships we can leverage is you, all of you here at the College Area Community Council. And we leave you with an action because we are all part of this, right? So what Cary and I are really going to be doing is also connecting with all of our community councils and all of our districts to listen and learn what the business community needs and wants in those specific districts. While we understand Ventura as a city and then the region, these districts also all have their own wants and needs, and we want to know what those are. And so as you, again, encourage people to connect with us, we are going to be doing after the new year, once the elections are over, start setting up some site visits in the districts with businesses and encourage our council member to come with us, as well as potentially a representative from the community council, so that way you can see how we engage and how it works and be part of it and have ownership in everything that we do. Well, the few upcoming important collaboration dates that we want to share. October is National Women's Business Month. So we will be doing one of those connectivity campaigns with that, as well as November being Small Business Saturday. The Saturday after Thanksgiving is really that kickoff to the holiday shopping. And we want to make sure that those dollars that are in our community stay in our community with our local businesses. So give them a great setup for the holiday season. Our Economic Development Subcommittee is made up of 3 council members. Our next meeting is on September 13th at 3:30. This is in City Hall in the Santa Cruz room. We will be going over again kind of what, in more detail, what the 6 months are going to look like, and then looking forward 12 months and 2 years and those bigger kind of catalyst projects that we're looking at. But then I wanted to end this. Cary is really the creator of the ED newsletter, so I don't want to take the love of sharing what that's about. So Cary, take us on.
Sure, no problem. So I send out a electronic newsletter twice a month. The focus of the newsletter is really geared towards our business community, but we also pull in information from our community partners. So maybe Weave's got a free class, or workforce development is hosting a job fair. So we pull in those resources really geared towards our business community, but we also pepper in other information that we feel would be really beneficial for the community as a whole. So for example, our city manager, Bill Ayub, mentioned our Ventura Connect. So we'll have some information in our newsletter that'll be going out tomorrow on that as well. So happy to share the link to that newsletter, and it's via Constant Contact, so you can subscribe and unsubscribe at any time. And I think that's it for us, but we're happy to stick around and answer any questions that anybody has. So fire away.
Yeah, I'm conscious of the time. I know we went a little long. Apologize for that. The link that Cary mentioned, it's on this slide at the bottom, cityofventura.ca.gov/ED for economic development. That'll take you to our homepage and you can see all the good stuff. All right, I will leave this up for a couple more seconds and then stop sharing.
I
so
have a
can see other
comment.
stuff.
I have a comment.
All right, Dr. Lourido-Habib, go ahead.
Hi. Well, one related to workforce, of course, we would love to be partners as we want to make sure that we prepare the workforce and they have people with the skill set they need for those businesses as they hire people. But on a personal note, I wanted to make a comment around your point on hospitality and tourism. Maybe because I'm a new member of this community, I notice and I receive a lot of information through Twitter, actually, related to Visit Ventura. And I have enjoyed a lot those beautiful videos, information about places to visit. So it's been very helpful for me because the job brought me here, but I'm not familiar with the area. So it's almost like I have a program for every weekend where to explore. So it's a beautiful campaign. So congratulations on that.
Oh, we'll
Thank
pass that
you.
along to our friends at Visit Ventura. They are
Yes.
amazing. They really do
Yes.
some really fantastic work, and I know they would be very pleased and humbled by your praise. They do really good work, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
And then I also did want to shout out that Cary and I have connected with Raquel from the college about workforce development and building curriculums. And so she's going to join us on some of our site visits. So the partnership is there and the aligning is continuing to happen. And we're really having this wonderful synergy that we're going to continue to build on. So thank you.
That's
and your
awesome.
team.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Kathy? Mute. You're muted, Kathy.
I've kind of a silly question. You said people from Ventura are going to some location in Oxnard. What is that?
It's fast food fried chicken.
And what's the name of it?
Raising Cane's.
Fast food. Oh, Lord.
It's a thing. It's a thing. I didn't know it was a thing until we found it out in this this kind of analysis that we did. But it's very interesting to see the trends of where people go, and we're gonna get more deeper into it and see like at what time are people going? Is that the late night after hangout eat place, or is that really where everyone gets dinner?
I would say it's very good we have this expansive health and medical facility in Loma Vista if everybody's eating fried chicken. So
yeah, the wellness district's gonna peak.
Yeah.
All
Thank-
right, well, if there's no more questions, thank you, Meredith and
Thank
Cary.
you.
We really appreciate all the information you brought to us tonight.
Thank you for having us. We really appreciate it.
Okay, and now we're going to move on to the VUSD fall update and ballot measure with Sabrena Rodriguez, the VUSD trustee, and Dr. Antonio Castro, our superintendent.
Thank you, Barbara. And I just want to say that Cary and Meredith really are the friendliest faces at City Hall. You can tell that from their presentation, but they've always been that way and incredibly gracious and welcoming. So it's fun to follow them. And thanks for all the good work. I am gonna share a little presentation with you all. So I just wanted to start with this because this is from our spring graduation not graduation, but promotion from kindergarten at Mount Tavo School. And it's just super grounding, right? This is the reason we do the work. This is really what it's all about. It's all about our kids' futures and working together as a community to make sure that all of our kids have the possibilities that they're capable of and that we want for them. And so it's a pleasure to be here with you all today. And this is probably my only time presenting to you because also on Zoom tonight is Shannon Fredericks, who was recently determined to be the trustee-elect for your area. And so since I live in Midtown, she will, I'm sure, take over attending your meetings and sharing information with you. But I've attended your meetings for many years, and it's always an honor to be here. So so thank you for including me.
And thank you for mentioning Sabrena. I'm happy to take over, although you're a tough act to follow.
Not at all, but I wanted to share a little bit about like kind of what some of the changes that you might be seeing at our schools. So first and foremost, school started a week early, and many of you probably noticed, if you are used to our middle of August start, that that we bumped it up a week this year, and there was a reason for that. The goal is really to ensure that our high school students and our high school teachers have the opportunity to have a real break at the end of the semester. If you know how our semester was set up before, our high school students didn't finish until the second week of January. And so now with us moving the schedule up, they are able to actually finish their finals, go on winter break, and have a real time off with their families, unplug, and enjoy their time. And the same is true for our staff. So although it's a little inconvenient, and certainly if you're not used to having kids in school the second week of August, it was a shock. But after this year, we think we'll all get used to it. And of course, because we're starting early, we will end a little early, and we'll catch back up on that summer break this next summer. And we've been getting lots of questions about our class sizes from some of our elementary school students or parents. And so just wanted to kind of share that this is something that happens every year as we come back to school. We don't always know when we're filling our classes who will show up on the first day of school, or who will stay in our schools on the second week of school. And so it's a real process to set those classes and to balance out students. Students don't show up at our elementary school in wonderful blocks of 24 students, which is our typical K to second grade or third grade class size. And so sometimes you'll have classes that are a little fuller or a little less full, just based on who shows up at our schools. But we always work with principals to try and make sure that every kid has the resources that they need to be successful. And parents are always welcome to reach out and ask questions of their principal, or reach out to the district to get information if they have any concerns. And then also wanted to just share that, if you've been following the news, we've had a number of years of declining enrollment. That is certainly not just a VUSD thing across the state and around the county. Public schools and all schools are losing enrollment. We could have a whole separate conversation about why that is, but there are a lot of factors. A lot of them really come down to families having fewer children, and in our area, a contributing factor is the high cost of living and families not choosing to move to a community that's so expensive to live in. But the good news is that this year we actually lost fewer students than we had projected to lose. So we actually only lost 200 students this year, which we had projected to lose significantly more than that. And so that shows that those numbers are stabilizing and that we're actually attracting families back to the community. So it's really good news. And that was probably a contributing factor in some of those high class sizes that I was sharing about earlier. Just side note, this back to school picture is from when my eldest daughter, Bella, was in 4th grade. So it goes back quite a ways, but every time we go back to school, I'm just reminded of those special times as a family where you kind of send them off with their new backpack and their friends, and you kind of send them off to school to find out who their teacher is. And it's just such a fun time. So although my children are now adults, I still live vicariously through all of our young families. So we had some good news that I wanted to make sure to touch on. If you remember, California voters passed Prop 28 last year, and that provided a significant amount of money for our art and music education in our schools. For Ventura Unified, it's over $2 million that the community is very generously giving us for art and music education across TK through 12. And so this year you will see at all of our schools new programs It's everything from ballet folklorico to mariachi to expanded orchestral programs in our middle schools, clay and pottery in our elementary schools, computer programming, digital design. I mean, there's really just this huge array of arts programming that's happening now in our schools that is being driven by conversations at each school site from parents and staff and the principals to see what it is that community wanted, what was missing, and then how we can provide it for those students. So it's a wonderful expansion in addition to the arts programs that this district has invested in for many years through our parcel tax funds and through other district funds. So we are in a wonderful place when it comes to art and music. I wanted to share that we got some great news from Anacapa Middle School, which has a TWI or two-way immersion program. Our 8th graders at Anacapa for the first time this year took the AP Spanish test. So these students have been studying in English and Spanish since kindergarten. And some of them are native Spanish speakers. Some of them are native English speakers who have been learning Spanish alongside their peers. But for the first time, we had 8th graders sit a high school AP Spanish test, and we had 46 8th graders pass the AP Spanish test. It was amazing. Those are incredible results, and we're so proud of those students. And now those kids going into high school have the opportunity to take a different foreign language if they want. They can take another type of elective. They can take more classes at the college. It just opens up a world of possibilities for them, and also shows them that the investment that they've made in their language skills is really important and impactful and valued, right? So they now have college credits for the work they've done, TK through 8, which is just outstanding. We as a district have received a number of grants, and we have 16 new electric buses coming to our district, all through grant dollars. They'll be coming over the next year or more. Electric buses, there's a backlog, but we're very fortunate as a district, one, to have such an active staff that have been really seeking these grants, but also we are the kind of district where electric buses work. And that isn't true for some districts around the state where they have, you know, lots of mountains or where it's very, very hot or very, very cold. Ventura, as we all know, has a wonderful climate and is really just a great place to be. And electric busing works really well for us as a district. There are some challenges like figuring out how to do charges if we have sports teams that travel to Santa Barbara or to LA, or we do field trips, figuring out how to charge so that they can come back, and working with other districts to make those things possible. But all in all, for our community, this is a huge win because we won't have those buses idling outside of our schools or outside of our neighborhoods, generating a significant amount of pollution. And also we're modeling for our students that we care about the environment and we're trying to do the right thing. So it's really a wonderful change that is coming to our community. And then lastly, I wanted to share about our cell phone policy. So last year, staff, and in particular, Dr. Castro, who will follow me in this presentation, really led the charge to make sure that our students who were struggling so much with anxiety and, you know, just so many social media ills, had a refuge when they got to school and were able to unplug, focus, pay attention to their learning, build friendships and relationships that we know have suffered both from COVID and from all of us staring at our phones. And so at our middle schools and high schools, students should not have their phones out. At our middle schools, they should be off in the entire school day. And at our high schools, students can have them out only during lunch or before school. Obviously, in the case of an emergency, we would allow students to use them if they needed to contact families. But the policy has been very well received by students and by families, and especially by our educators who say kids are paying way more attention, they're way more focused, they're getting through material more efficiently and really having better conversations in their classrooms because kids are paying attention and they're not distracted by the little ding from their phone or their friend showing them something on Instagram, right? So it has been a very successful policy. As always, implementation is really where it's at, and some schools have struggled with that a little more than others. But if you see something and you have as a parent, or if your student shares something, please let us know that, because it's really important, and we do very much value having our students be able to pay attention and be focused when they're at school. And again, build those relationships, develop those social skills that we all know are super important in life, and that have really suffered over the last few years. And I'm talking fast because I want to make sure to leave room for Dr. Castro. But I also wanted to share, a few years ago, I came to you to talk about our bond, and the community very generously supported a bond measure for this district for the first time in 25 years. It was a big ask. We raised $435 million, and that is on the with the generosity of our community. It was a big ask, and the community really stepped up and helped us do that. And I just wanted to share some of the things that are in the pipeline, have either already been done or are in phases of being done during this school year, because I think it's important that the community know about those things. So air conditioning at our elementary schools. We are installing solar at 27 of our 28 campuses. The one exception is Pierpont. And if you live at the beach, you know it's kind of cloudy and it's not a great place to put solar. So that's the reason Pierpont isn't getting solar. As part of that campaign, we're also going to much more efficient lighting. So we're really going to be saving money both on the side of generating our own electricity, but also not using much as electricity. And I included this picture of Ventura High School's stadium because the stadium lights at Ventura High School are being replaced with LED lights, which are not only much more energy efficient and don't need to be warmed up an hour before you need them, but they're going to be much better for neighbors because they're directed down, cause a lot less light pollution for neighbors, and are just better for the players as well because they'll be able to see a lot better out on the field. We have new roofs going in at several of our elementary schools, new playgrounds at many of our elementary schools, and all of those playgrounds are being developed with input from students, from teachers, from neighbors. If you live near one of these schools, you might be getting a postcard that says, you know, what do you value in your neighborhood school's playground and what would you like to see? Because we're really trying to incorporate neighbor feedback, family feedback, and especially student feedback on what they want in their campuses. We are, as part of our district priority for security, adding fences to some of the schools that don't have them, and or improving the fences at some of the schools that had really old and kind of falling apart fences. In Portola, it's always been fenced, but we're replacing some of the fencing that had rusted out and was literally falling over in some places. Montalvo just recently got a new front gate. So if you've visited Montalvo in the last few years, you know, the front gate is almost impossible to open. It's super rickety. So that new gate already went in. Loma Vista, you, as I'm sure, have seen those gates. And then lastly, as part of the Measure E investment, we are improving our scoreboards at our stadiums. We are working on our swimming pools, making major investments in their heating systems and upgrading them. And up above Ventura High School's stadium, if you have not had a chance to visit, is the coolest thing I think we've done in a really long time, which is an amazing women's beach volleyball court that is above the stadium, has this view from this photo, and it is just incredible. It's a great place to watch volleyball. Neighbors have been super happy with it. It just creates a wonderful vibe, and these girls are great athletes, and it's just a really, really lovely place to be. And it was a real conversation with our community where we were going to put this. I don't know if you remember, but there was a lot of public conversation around where this would go. And in the end, the location is just spectacular, and the team loves it. The community really appreciates it. And it's just a really great example of how those Measure E dollars are being invested to make things better. So with that, I was going to stop sharing and let Dr. Castro, our amazing superintendent, take over and talk about something that we have going on this election cycle.
All right. Well, thank you, Sabrena, for highlighting so many great things we have going on in the district. And for those of you that I've never met, my name is Antonio Castro. I have the absolute pleasure and distinction of serving as the VUSD superintendent. I'm in my 5th year, starting my 5th year with the district, but 3rd as superintendent. And I'm very fortunate to have a board and a community that supports so many initiatives across the city. And so I'm going to share my screen just to talk about a new can you see that, the screen? Okay. And if you see an icon with a really beautiful woman, that's because I'm borrowing my wife's computer. We had some compatibility issues. I drove home after one of our back to school nights, and so she was kind enough to share her laptop with me. As Sabrena was talking about, it's that time of year where we come back to school. There's such a sense of renewal and recommitment to the school year, and that fits in with the community support. My understanding is that we've had a parcel tax in Ventura since 2012. The parcel tax rate you can see on the measure remains at $59 per parcel. That's unchanged. In the initial analysis that we had from our advisor, we continue to pull in terms of just a real high level of support. And I actually want to build on something before I get into the list. You can take it in while I add. But Sabrena had talked about the community's commitment to arts and music. And so as we've worked through getting this initiative on the ballot, some questions have been posed to us about, well, but while Prop 28, you're going to get all this money for, again, more arts and music. And that's exactly the point. Prop 28 is designed to enhance and build upon existing programs. And not only that, there's also a really interesting distinction that you can't really see from a bird's eye view. You have to get down into the details. And one of those details is that Prop 28 is designed to be a site-driven plan. And the sites are making those decisions with their stakeholders at every single school. But as you can imagine, especially in a district our size, we have many district-wide programs. And so the parcel tax continues to support our ability to support TOSAs. And I'm going to, in a moment, switch tabs to show you a list of the kinds of activities, purchases, and equipment that we continue to use for the parcel tax. And so I'm going to do that now. Actually, sorry, not just now. There are elements of the parcel tax that remain unchanged. We fund core academic programs. You see that in the first bullet. I do want to spend a moment talking about the second bullet point, because it seems like, well, how does this help you attract and retain highly qualified teachers? And I'll cut straight to the chase. Attracting highly qualified individuals committed to education is becoming a little bit harder over the years, because our environments, not just education, but all sectors are becoming much more competitive. But even when we attract highly qualified teachers and educators, retaining them is another thing. And as we know, anyone who has committed to their profession, they want to excel at their profession, and they want to be seen as professionals. And a big part of that is in the area of creativity. And so in the parcel tax, it allows us to be able to support just creativity across our professionals, and also just things that are innovative, because the parcel tax allows us to be able to provide seed money when our employees want to try new things. But most notably, because I've already covered the next bullet point, I do want to spend some time on the school mental health programs. Through COVID, we have received, as you probably know, a lot of funds from the federal and state to help recover from COVID. The state and federal funds are now coming to a close. More specifically, in Ventura Unified, we have one remaining state extra funds, and that's going to basically lapse. It could go until 2028, but we will use that full utilization and that allocation by 2026. And so consequently, a lot of the programs that we built up specifically to support mental health at our schools, counseling, wellness centers, those are all being supported through funding that is going to lapse. Our board has been very consistent in promoting mental health and access to mental health. Through our last local control and accountability plan and feedback through our surveys, it's working. 2 years ago, fewer students and parents really even knew what resources were available. Over this last LCAP survey, the percentage of students that were aware and accessed these programs increased substantially. So now the challenge is, how do we continue to sustain such important programs? And one of the answers, of course, is the parcel tax. And so that's why the board has asked us to add this to the list. And so I'm going to move over to the tab, and I apologize, I had to copy paste this very quickly. But here are some of the things that we've spent our parcel tax dollars on over multiple years, but these items are taken straight from the 23-24 parcel tax expenditures. Quick side note, we have a parcel tax oversight committee. They will formally go through this process as a committee. They bring that report to the board. It's publicly available, but I did want to take some preliminary concepts so that way you would know, just in this last year, what are some of the things that we spent our money on. So as you can see, I used the term TOSA, and I should have caught myself, because a TOSA is a teacher on special assignment. And so when you look at these art teachers and music teachers, these are the district level teachers on special assignment that have provided support across the district, obviously with a focus on elementary schools and middle schools, because our high schools have those electives often embedded in their master schedules. So as Sabrena had talked about, the extra that Prop 28 brings to specific sites, our district prior to Prop 28 has had a long history of supporting arts and music through the parcel tax. And so that, again, could continue. You can scroll, I will scroll down while you take a look at the rest of these, but there are all kinds of other related opportunities that come through the parcel tax: field trips, performances, equipment of all kinds, unique programs for mariachi and folklorico that start in elementary, build in middle school, and we're starting to be able to build upon that in high school. And you look at the music supplies as well. Those are the ongoing focus, but we do, through the parcel tax, have continued to provide ongoing supports in the area of technology acquisition and networking. And so that's what you see there. And so I'm going to stop sharing. So all in all, one of the challenges that all districts face, and our district isn't unique in this, but we are unique in terms of how we continue to focus on what is prioritized. Arts and music is prioritized, advancing our students, supporting our educators, and then of course trying to keep everybody healthy and well. And so what Sabrena shared in our overall priorities, and then also with Prop 28, the parcel tax is just a really critical funding source for us to be able to maintain that area of focus. So thank you very much for allowing me to join this group. And I will mute myself and see if we have any questions.
Just a point of clarification, Dr. Castro. I think you said that we currently have a 59 per parcel fee. So is this measure to direct those dollars and protect those dollars, or can you clarify that?
Sure. Yes, thank you. They're already all of the list of equipment and supplies and personnel, those are funded through the parcel tax. And so the parcel tax is lapsing. And so we need to bring it forward. In the past, we have done 4 years. This year, the initiative would include 8 years. For exactly the reason that you had shared, that because the community has supported this since 2012, this will allow us to be able to extend that benefit. And for those who are curious about the why behind that, there's a really important part and I'll ask Trustee Rodriguez to add if she would like, in long-term strategic planning. The more that we can see what's coming and the more that we can plan on expenditures, the easier it is for us to be nimble in other high needs areas. And so that's one of the reasons why knowing far ahead of time, especially when we see large shifts in the budget from the state, that is really important for governance and for the community to know over a period of time when we're absorbing some volatility in the markets and what that does to school districts. That's one of the reasons why we're looking at that 8-year extension rather than a 4-year.
And I see that Ms. Hubbard has her hand raised, but I wanted to also just kind of share that, if you are familiar with parcel taxes, the threshold to pass a parcel tax is very high. It's 67%. So it's not a simple majority. And this community has overwhelmingly supported these parcel taxes multiple times because I believe this is a community that really values the arts and values education and has supported those things over and over again, which is really what has allowed us to make these long-term investments in art and music education. And one of the things I often share with people is if you have a chance, you should see our student musicians perform. They are truly extraordinary. Ventura High School has a nationally acclaimed orchestral program that is just amazing to see. They rival professional orchestras and in fact often compete against college orchestras. That's how talented these students are. And even in middle school, oftentimes you will see them playing pieces that other high schools play. So it's just a great, I think, testament to this community's investment that we've made over many, many, many years. Long before I was on the school board, we started investing in those things, and it really has paid dividends for our kids.
Okay, there's a question out there. Ms. Hubbard, I'm not sure of your first name. What's your first name?
Oh, Diane.
Diane, so sorry. Diane, go ahead.
Okay, in our district, of course, Loma Vista School is right in the middle of our district. When our granddaughter comes to visit us, one of our favorite things was taking her over to the school and letting her play on the playground equipment. I am under the impression that the campus is now locked up after school and on the weekends. Is that accurate? And is that going to remain the case?
Sure, I'll get started, and then Trustee Rodriguez, if you want to build on that. The observation is largely correct. One of the things that's changed over the last couple of years was talking about state initiatives. One of the really positive state initiatives has been an extensive investment in what we're calling expanded learning opportunities. These expanded learning opportunities include extended hours. They can be before school, but they are certainly after school. And so our campuses now are utilized across the district for longer hours than I think the community is really accustomed to. When school days end around 2 or 3 o'clock, expanded learning opportunities are now taking that into 6 and 7 o'clock. So when you have programming that ends between 6 and 6:30, and then you still have staff until 7 o'clock, we still have on school the next day. So you have to get those campuses ready, cleaned, etc. So there are actually fewer hours where our campuses are available. Not yet in full implementation, but also on the horizon. And we've started at some of our schools. Expanded learning is not just during the school day. It also can be on weekends and then during interim breaks. So things like spring break and winter break, we are actually running programs virtually all year long. So our campuses are being utilized from essentially sunup past sundown. And therefore, that's one of the reasons why there's less access on our campuses. Trustee Rodriguez, is there anything you want to add?
So as a community member, I would love to see our schools open. just to be completely transparent, I would love to see us be able to welcome the community. I live near Lincoln School, which is still one of our open campuses, and I love being able to go there on the weekends. But the reality is that we really need to be able to keep our kids safe. And when they're at school, we need to make sure that only people who should be on our campuses are on our campuses. So that's really the move for the increased security. But I can share that, Mr. Johnson and Mr. Ayub both mentioned that we have these kind of regularly scheduled communications between us and the city. And one of the things that we have been talking about for several years is trying to figure out a way for the school district and the city to work together on some shared use agreements around having our schools open and the times that they could be open for the community to use. It's hard, right? People have become accustomed to using schools as parks. And while I totally understand why that's the case, they aren't parks. And so we have to figure out a way to engage with the community to have our schools open so the community can use them when it works. But also make sure that we have the protection for our kids when they're there, and for our staff. A lot of people don't know that we have night custodians who often work alone, and so they're on our campuses all night cleaning the school so that it can be ready for the morning. And so there have been instances where people come on campus at night, and we have security issues. So all of those things, I guess, are a complicated way of saying we're trying to figure out a way to make it work, because I understand the value to the community. I agree with you. I would love to be able to have them there, but we have to make it work for the kids' safety.
Well, I understand your position, and on paper, I understand that you have programs on the campus after school hours. We live across from the school. I know how often there are kids on the playgrounds, and there aren't kids there on the weekends. There aren't programs going, and that's when I think the playgrounds could be utilized by the neighborhood kids. You say they are not parks. I understand that, but as taxpayers, we are paying for the schools. I would just like to be able to access them. So that's my 2 cents worth.
All right, is there any other questions before? Thank you, Dr. Castro and Sabrena. Are there any other questions before we move on? All right, we really appreciate giving you this update. It's very thorough and clarifying the bond or the measure that's going to be on the election ticket this November. So best of luck for you.
Oh, I did just want to share, I'm sorry, Barbara, but I wanted to mention you talked about the candidate forum, and school board positions will be at that forum as well.
Yes, they will be. And I believe there are three, we can't mention any names, but there are 3 school board members running. So yes. All right, well, thank you again. Very informative. Before we go on to Councilmember Johnson, I did want to mention, part of one of the College Area Community Council's mission is to try to improve the college area. And as you guys remember, we raised a significant amount of money to paint the Skyline entrance, and it looks great. And it was perfectly perfect for 10 months before it got tagged. So first, congratulations to our community for protecting this piece of upgraded public visual space. And then special thanks to Jim Ackerman, who actually went down there immediately and painted it. So thank you, Jim. All right, so next I want to introduce Councilmember Mike Johnson. Mike?
Well, hi, everybody. Mike Johnson, your District 3 representative. It's good to see everybody. I don't have one particular topic that I wanted to talk about tonight, just sort of give you a broad update on what's going on with the city. But I wanted first to touch on a bunch of the things that we heard tonight, because we've had some great presenters and there's a lot going on. I will say, the school district has been very clear that if the city wants to work out an agreement to open the playgrounds, we can do that. The city will have to pay for a lot of it. And the city's simply not willing to do that, to take on the liability issues, to take on, when the custodians come to open the school on a Monday morning, making note of whatever damage was made to the playground, whatever problems there are. Unfortunately, it's just unworkable. And, I was at Poinsettia when the decision was made to lock the gates. And Poinsettia is still a very open school. But one of the things the district has heard from its parents loud and clear is that they want everything locked up as best as can be. We definitely have a problem with parks. Parks are our most underfunded department in the city by far. It was a shoestring budget, and now it's worse. When people talk to me about sidewalks and roads and potholes, I'll say, well, that's if we increase the budget for that 30%. We're spending more than twice on roads this year than we did 2 years ago. When they ask about the fire department, I say, look, we're building a new fire station. We just brought on these paramedic squads. We just put in a purchase order for 4 new fire trucks at, $1.5 million a piece. And then they say, what about the parks? And I say, well, let's talk some more about all the money we're spending on the roads and the fire department. One of the things I would like to see, and I'm just floating this everywhere I go, I would like to see Ventura have a soda tax. And this, there were some cities that have done this. I would like to see a soda tax that applies in the city of Ventura, and all of the money goes to the Parks and Rec department to support programs, to support maintenance. Mr. Ayub and I had this conversation today where I said, a park is like a boat, somebody should pay you to take it. The fact is, and that's where we are in the city. Lots of developments have given us parks, but then we've got to maintain them year after year after year after year after year. And I think if you go to some of our parks, you can tell that. I greatly appreciate all that Mr. Ayub has done, especially with, let's say, the parking at Cemetery Park and some of the potholes at Camino Real. Until the potholes got fixed a couple months ago, it wasn't safe to walk on the roadway in Camino Real heading off to the dog park. It was atrocious. So, I do think there is a path forward when it comes to parks, but it's going to require some sort of tax. It could be a parcel tax, or it's going to be a soda tax or something like that to really bring our parks up. So a couple things too, when Ms. Hart and Ms. Glenn were speaking, I wanted to talk briefly about the WEV, Weave, and EDC. I don't know if everybody knows what those are. And these are fantastic partnerships that really work behind the scenes. EDC is the Economic Development Collaborative, and this is a separate nonprofit that the city works with, the county works with, the other cities works with them, industry works with them, and it really is a collaborative. Now it's really expanding as well. It's working in Santa Barbara as well. The director that we have of EDC is a man named Bruce Densley, and you know, this is a profession that people have, and Bruce Stensley is one of the top EDC directors in the United States. And it amazes me how many times I'm touching on something and it's like, well, that goes back to EDC. I'm working on all this stuff for broadband for the Ventura Council of Governments. And well, we're dealing with the broadband consortium, which was started by EDC. I do this stuff with the military for the Regional Defense Partnership, EDC. And one of the things the city does is use some of our grant money to help fund EDC. And then they take some of that money and they use it, for example, with Women's Economic Ventures, to do help for small businesses. And this is coaching, but it's also very low interest loans. And I know Ms. Hart could probably tell you a bunch of success stories from local entrepreneurs. And it's not just women who have really benefited from it. What they really are looking for is somebody who's starting their first business, has an idea, isn't totally sure how to get started, and needs some capital to just for those upfront costs. And those have been fantastic partners. And I want to thank Ms. Hart and Ms. Glenn publicly. You know, I have some strong opinions on economic development. I will tell you one of my strong opinions is that they are doing a fantastic bang up job. I cannot tell you how many times I called up Meredith or sent her an email with somebody that was just having some hiccup with the city, and she would just take care of it and cut through the Gordian knot, cut through the red tape, and make sure those things happen. And, you know, there's so much good going on in the city right now with economic development. Let's see. Something, I don't remember if it was Ms. Hart or Ms. Glenn that said it, that everybody in the city staff is economic development. Mr. Ayub and I had a conversation today, and he was saying that everybody on staff is also a customer service representative, that, you know, he really wants staff to understand that when they're interacting with somebody, a member of the public, and maybe it's a staff member that is not in a public facing job, but when they have an interaction with a member of the public, to really make sure that the person walks away feeling good about that interaction. This is all part of rebuilding that trust. But we have to recognize that some people, they don't really interact face to face with a city employee very often. And if they do, and it's a bad experience, that just makes everything we do that much more difficult. And I really appreciate all the work that Mr. Ayub is doing on this. He brought up the app. I will tell you, I myself have probably submitted 50 different things around the district. I am making great use of that app to document sidewalk disruptions and potholes and dead trees and graffiti. It's such an improvement. Instead of having to call Ms. Hart, I think some of the first interactions you and I had when you were on city staff was me saying, we can't be passing out cards with 25 different numbers to call for different things. And so we're finally making some real progress on this. Moving on to some other things, you know, I did sit on the declining enrollment committee for the school district. This is important. You know, actually, it's not every school district that is saying declining enrollment in California. Some are growing like gangbusters, like in Bakersfield, like Kern County. And that's people moving out of Ventura to move there. We looked at the numbers, and it wasn't people pulling their kids out to go to a charter school or a religious school. It was people moving out of the district because of the cost of living. And this is a real problem when you think about the schools. You know, I appreciate that, you know, you want to use the schools, Diane, for a playground. Your taxes are paying for it. I want you to think about what would happen to your neighborhood if that school was shut down. Because when we're seeing a 25% loss of enrollment in the district, and it's not that bad, but it could get there. The district has to look at the number of schools that it has. It has to look at the number of elementary schools. And you get into a vicious cycle where, families move out, and then it gets to a point, and we've all seen this throughout Southern California over the last 50, 60 years. School districts close a school, and then more families move out. This is a real problem for the city. This is an existential threat to the city. It's the families that really are getting the money into the economy. And that's because so much of what they're doing, a lot of them are renters, and a lot of them are spending every dollar they have of disposable income. And they're buying things that, we collect sales tax on. They're buying appliances, they're buying cars, they're buying shoes. And we cannot, in a Prop 13 world, we cannot be a bedroom community, and we cannot be a retirement community. The numbers just don't work. So I bring this up in part because so many of our families are renters. 44% of our residents are renters. But in terms of families with children, it's well more than, I think, 60% are renters. So last night at the city council, I will tell you, I was very disappointed in what happened. We had committed to doing a lot of work on tenant protections as part of our housing element, which we submitted to the state a couple of years ago. And what we did last night was, here's the thing, we're far behind on the stuff we said we would be doing. And staff came to us with a plan to sort of catch up. And 5 of my colleagues decided that was too much and really weakened everything that we're planning to do for tenant protections. And it's dispiriting. Sometimes people ask why I'm leaving council. It's things like that I did not sleep after coming home from that council meeting. That stuff is very hard. I've worked with families that had to leave Ventura because there were no resources for them. And I think about them. Some of them I stay in touch with. The other thing I wanted to bring up in the scattershot thing, as we have this election, we've got 5 candidates in the district. And theoretically, mathematically, somebody could be your next city council member with 21% of the vote. And that's scary. One of the things we've talked about at council, and I hope will happen, would be moving to what's called ranked choice voting. And this would be a thing where you pick your first choice and you pick your second choice. And what that does is it provides an instant runoff. So if nobody gets a majority, you can go back and take off the lowest vote getting person, rerun the numbers and see who wins. And this is important because I will tell you, as a politician in a campaign season, what happens is, I got calls, and Barbara and I ran against each other. And there was a lot of fear that we were going to split the vote and give it to somebody else. And that didn't happen. But you end up with all this kind of gross political maneuvering. And it's discouraging for a lot of people who are thinking about running. And I don't want anybody who's thinking about running to feel that way. I don't want anybody who's thinking about running to get a sit down, with a county supervisor telling them that they better not get in the race. That's sort of the system we have now. And I hope that in 2 years, when we'll be doing some other charter amendments, that ranked choice voting is on there. And the way we would do it, I'm sure, would be to say, we're ready to do ranked choice voting. And when enough other cities in the county are willing to do it, and the county is ready to step up to that, we're right there with you. But wait until everybody else is doing it so that we are not paying to start a whole new voting process with new computers and new styles of ballots. Okay, that's my scattershot thing of what's going on for council. It's not a lot because we had half of July and half of August off, but that's really the headline news, I would say, and some pickups from tonight. So I'd like to answer any questions. Barbara, can you manage calling on people?
What was the question?
I was asking if you could please manage calling on people since I'm using my phone. If
Oh,
somebody
right,
raises
okay.
their hand.
Yeah, any questions? You know what? It looks like not.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yay, Nadine, you're so funny. Well, thank you, Mike. I think one of the reasons there's not a lot of questions is you're so good at communicating with us and you share a lot of information all the time. So you keep us very up to date.
And let me say this, actually, you know, I have that newsletter that goes out. I don't have many issues left to go, but if you want me to put you on the mailing list for what's left, I will absolutely do that. You can sign up at mike4ventura.com and just take this number down. It's 805-515-6839. If you just text me, I'll your email address, I'll put you on the email list. Oh, and I got a bunch of events coming up and I don't have the calendar in front of me. I'm sitting in my dining room.
Well, if you want to share the email with Kathy, you could do that. That's that email address I put in, gosh, cacc.vta@gmail.com.
Yeah, Mike, just send me your events.
Yeah, of course. Well, and let me just tell you, because I have one tomorrow and it is at 3 p.m. Coffee at Pete's Coffee on Victoria. And then next one after that, oh my gosh, I have so many, is Thursday, September 5th, 9 a.m., Hill Street Cafe.
All right, well, thank you so much, Mike. I also really appreciate you keeping within the time.
I've tried.
we don't like to keep people late. We like to be very prompt here, and all of our speakers are so knowledgeable and have so much information. So before we close, I just wanted to ask, does anyone have any public announcements they'd like to make with regard to things that might be of interest to the community, events to attend? We've heard from the college, we've heard from the city, we've heard from Mike. Kathy?
I don't know who else is on Steve Bennett's mailing list, but for everyone who is not, there will be a climate forum at the Government Center at the Board of Supervisors room on September 5th from 6 to 8 p.m. And I will put that in the notes.
There's also the state of the city, and if Bill is still around, maybe he can tell you about that. But if not, it's on the city website. I believe it's going to be held at the Crown Plaza, and I think it's next week sometime. But Bill?
Sorry, was that question about the state of the city?
Yeah, just date and time.
The 19th of September, 7:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. at the Crown Plaza. It is a ticketed event. It is hosted by the Chamber of Commerce. If you cannot make it, it is live streamed. If you cannot catch the live stream, it's recorded and will be available on the city's YouTube channel. You can also catch an abbreviated version of it at the October 8th council meeting. Council meetings, once again, have moved to Tuesday, beginning at 5 p.m. So September 19th, 7:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., Crown Plaza.
All right, any questions about that? All right, my one final thing is that the Ventura Botanical Gardens is having a free day on Labor Day. So if you have guests or you'd like to join us up there, it's free for everyone. Leash dogs are welcome. Patty posted this, and this is actually really nice. I had lunch today at the Little Lion Brunch, which is a new business in our area. If you get a chance to go there, it's great. It's packed, or at least it was today, and the food is delicious. And, you know, we always want to support the new businesses to our community. So, you know, if you want a nice place to go out to eat, by all means, it's right next to Cabo Beach Grill, Vaughn's, across from Thai Chili, in the Telegraph, or in the Victoria/Telegraph Shopping Center. All right, well, thank you all for joining us today. If the CACC Executive Committee could stay after a couple minutes, but everybody else have a great evening.
Thank you. You too.